right, good morning. Everybody put your nameplates up. And a few things before we get started. Next week, remember, we're talking to Ron Schneider. So next week, we will actually meet in the conference room, which when you come in the suite of offices, you take a right at the front desk, you take a left, and it's that first door on the left, okay? We'll be in there because we will Skype with him. So basically, he sees through my computer, and then we all will be able to see him on the television that is in the room. Okay, so that's the best way to interact. If we did it in here, it would be much more difficult to be able to ask questions and everything. So he is going to talk about his time with Disney, which you'll know some about by watching the video. And he'll talk about what he did with Disneyland when he went to Epcot and Disney World in the early 80s, when he went back in 2006, some of the other things he's done with the company. He's also going to talk about some of the historical research he's done on the company, and kind of blend that in with some of his personal experiences. And so the plan is he will probably talk for 40 to 45 minutes, and then open it up for questions. So make sure you come with questions about, he has been a performer, as we've talked about, as you found out in this video. So you can ask him questions about that. He also has studied a lot of the history of the company and of Walt Disney himself. So if you have questions for that, come with those questions as well. All right. So next Monday, the 19th, we'll meet in the conference room. All right. A couple things happened before we get started on the video. Yesterday was the D23 Expo in Japan. Does anybody know what D23 is? It's the official fan group for Walt Disney. Okay, so you can pay to be in this group, and you have certain things that come with that. But you can also have a free membership if you want. If you go on the Disney store, you can sign up for their complimentary membership, and you get a certain number of items with that. A lot of online content and things like that if you want to have that information. So, but at these D23 Expos, this is where the official fan group people can come together. They learn about what's going on, what are some of the new things being released at the parks, and with some of the movies and things like that. And so some of the big things that came yesterday, everyone knows that Disneyland and Walt Disney World is opening a Star Wars land in 2019. It's opening earlier in Disneyland, and then it will open at Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World. At Hollywood Studios, they're also having a themed hotel with Star Wars land. So if you're a Star Wars fan, you want to keep up on this. It's an immersion experience. So you check into the hotel and you're immersed into the galaxy of Star Wars, to where you're on your own adventure and things, some of the things we talked about last week. But they confirmed some of the things happening with that project. Also, they confirmed at Epcot the Universe of Energy, which was one of the old pavilions that the ride is now closed. They are building the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster in that pavilion. It's going to be one of the largest indoor roller coasters in the world. And then a couple things at Disneyland Paris, they confirmed. They are redesigning the Aerosmith roller coaster to be an Iron Man and Marvel roller coaster. They're going to have more of a Marvel presence in Disneyland Paris. which when we talk about the parks and we talk about some of the history with the parks, we'll talk about some of the difficulty early on with Disneyland Paris when it was called Euro Disney. And then the last thing that I saw that was pretty major is Disneyland California Adventures, so out in Anaheim. They are re-theming the Paradise Pier where the big Mickey Mouse Ferris wheel and the big roller coaster is. That's now going to be called Pixar Pier. And the roller coaster, which used to be called the California Screamin', is going to be a Incredibles themed roller coaster. And so that pier is going to be re-themed to where you're going to be in some of the neighborhoods and sets and worlds of the different Pixar movies. So pretty interesting things that came out of the expo. One other thing I want to show that I thought was pretty interesting. People have kept up with the start of the Winter Olympics. I found this last week that Disney and Walt Disney had a pretty significant role in the 1960 Winter Olympics in Squaw Valley, California. So they were originally brought in because Squaw Valley was a smaller resort area. It wasn't, or a smaller ski town. It wasn't one of the major resorts that typically hosted the Winter Olympics. But through a pretty rigorous campaign, the organizing committee of Squaw Valley persuaded the IOC to pick Squaw Valley. And so they brought in Walt Disney and his Imagineers to help design the opening ceremony for the games and the closing ceremonies for the games. Those were the two things that they were responsible for to begin with. What they found out was because of Walt Disney's experience and the company's experience running Disneyland, they became more intimately involved with the Squaw Valley Games than they originally intended. Things like crowd control, parking, a lot of the what you would think of as behind the scenes or technical aspects of running the Winter Olympic Games. They were responsible ultimately for I believe they called it the Tower of Countries. And they also provided entertainment each evening for participants and for attendees at the Winter Games. And so, just thought with the start of the Olympics, it was a pretty interesting story. If you want to read the full description, the Facebook page is Friends of the Walt Disney Family Museum, if you want to jot that down. This is really interesting what they were talking about here, but then also this page is very interesting. They regularly share some pretty cool stories about Walt Disney and about the company and some of the things that the company did. All right. So before we get started with the last part of the Dreamfinders video, any questions, comments?
What else in the Paradise Pier is going to change? Like, I know that this is Incredibles and is going to take place in the California Screaming, but like, is there any other big things that are happening in that area?
I've never been to California Adventure. Have you?
Yeah, I went this past summer.
Okay, so what I understand is Toy Story Midway Mania is on the pier, right?
I believe so.
So this is all kind of focused around the presence of Midway Mania there, okay? And so from what I understand, the whole pier is going to be rethemed. That you're going to, instead of it looking like it was supposed to look like Coney Island or whatever, now it's going to resemble like the different settings of the Pixar movies, the different neighborhoods, things like that. And it's a major push to include more and more Pixar within the parks. Because if you've been to Hollywood Studios, they have Pixar Place, which is where Toy Story Midway Mania is in Hollywood Studios. They also have a meet and greet with some of the Toy Story characters. And then later this year, they're opening Toy Story Land at Hollywood Studios. And so that will be the entrance to Toy Story Land, which is supposed to resemble Andy's backyard and have a roller coaster that the cars represent the Slinky dog from the movies. They're supposed to have a ride with the little alien squeaky toys that you could get at Pizza Planet, things like that. And so they're just making more and more a push to include things like Pixar, an acquisition they made in 2006, Star Wars, and Marvel. So around the parks, you're going to see a lot more theming around those entities. Anything else? Any other questions?
So, like the Cars Land and stuff in Disneyland is not part of the pier. Do you think they're going to move it to the pier or leave it as its own?
I would imagine they would leave it as its own because it's, I mean, it would be a massive undertaking to, and have you been to California Adventure?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the pier is a set alone land in California Adventure, correct? Yeah, I wouldn't think they would, and I mean, they're kind of on, not exactly opposite sides of the park, but they're a good distance away. I would imagine they're leaving Cars Land the way it is, because that's a pretty popular location and attraction for them. And by the way, if you don't know Cars Land, if we haven't talked about it, it is where you can walk into Radiator Springs and you walk by all the, Sarge's Surplus Hut and Fillmore's Tent and Flo's V8 Cafe, and they're different rides based around Mater's Junkyard. There's a ride based around Luigi's shop where he sells tires, and then the main attraction there is called Radiator Springs Racers, where you go on a tour of Radiator Springs and Carburetor County. You go through an animatronic dark ride tour of Radiator Springs, the city, and then you end up racing around Willie's Butte. So it's a very popular attraction for people that attend or people that go to California Adventure. So I would imagine they're leaving that like it is. That would be a pretty massive undertaking to move, I would think. And when we go over the parks, we'll watch a video on Radiator Springs Racers, because that is one of the neatest new rides and use of animatronics that they have. Any other questions? Comments? All right, so remember where we left off in this documentary, The Dreamfinders. Was talking about how people made their journey to Orlando and some of the things that they have done, some of the things that they started to do as far as using blogs and different things like that. And so we'll finish this, and maybe at the end have a few minutes for questions.
Huge nowadays, but Disney is definitely a particular sort of breed of fans who are tremendously loyal.
Well, I mean, think about Disney too, and the reason why I think we have the sustainability of what we do is because I think there's no other brand on the planet that has the loyalty, the brand loyalty that Disney does. And the thing that's different, because you have an emotional connection to this place, right? You either watched, Wonderful World of Walt on Sunday nights with your dad, or you remember coming to Disney World with your parents or as a parent for the first time. And so when you smell something, you remember those memories. I love this place, all right, clearly because of the food, but really because of the memories that I had with my parents that I wanted to share with other people and then share with my kids. To your point, never thinking my hobby, my passion would end up turning into my career. The moment I remember most was the first time I ever live broadcasted. So I was in New Jersey, it was 2007, the platform was just becoming a lot more accessible, and I said to my wife, listen, I said, I'm just gonna try this one thing, nobody's gonna watch, I'll be upstairs in like 10 minutes. She's like, all right, whatever. She's used to sort of me and the crazy ideas. 6 hours later, she comes downstairs and she's like, what are you doing and who are you talking to? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm just talking to the screen. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, nothing. But there was like 200 people like watching me sitting in my basement just talking. People aren't necessarily watching. It's great when we can connect them to this experience here, right? Especially like on video. You're bringing that experience to them, but they just want to connect with you. They want to talk with you and be in a room with other friends.
I remember, getting my first email from like somebody in Japan. I never ever in a million years would have expected that. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's, I'm talking about Walt Disney World. It's just going to be people in Orlando who are interested. And then I get, other states and all of a sudden other countries. And I'm writing back and forth with everybody and they are just sort of glowing and gushing about how the fact that they wish they could be where I was, being able to go to the parks all the time, and that they were tremendously happy I was able to sort of just bring a little bit of that sense to them. And it's just kind of kept going.
For a lot of people, the reason why we connect with it, the way that we do, the thing that happens that is real, is we are actually stepping into our childhood. We all have practically been weaned on Disney. And so for us, this is something that we're recapturing, a time in our life, a state of mind that we have had since our days of innocence. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to go back to that. And this place, for whatever reason, has an incredible power to bring that about.
I think the fact that Dad is still alive, and I think the fact that he had such a big impact on me, that if something ever happened, I'm gonna always make that Dad connection with Disney. And it was, when I got back home from that trip, I just remember having such a love of that world. And he would say to me, you're gonna forget about it, it'll pass. And I said, no, I'm gonna move down there. And he said, no, you'll see, it'll something you forget about. And I hadn't gone back until I was about 15. So there's a 10-year span there that I just couldn't stop talking about the Magic Kingdom and the Haunted Mansion. I remember actually collecting bricks and stuff on the side of the road because I wanted my dad to build the Haunted Mansion in our backyard. And I really thought at that age, I thought it was absolutely possible. That if we create enough bricks, we could build it. No.
We've all been to Haunted Mansion a million times. We know every freaking word of that narration. We know exactly what's going to happen at every turn. Why do we keep going in there? Because it's so well done that a part of us, the suspension of disbelief, a part of us, we walk in the door, says unconsciously, I've never been here before. It's so exquisitely done, the chill in the air, the lights, everything about it. It's like a child with a train set. He puts his eye down next to the train as the train goes by, so he can imagine what it would be like if it was a full-size train. And everybody does that. And that's why we keep going, waiting in line 45 minutes, 2 hours to get on the Haunted Mansion, because that feeling of that miracle of the first time.
that in Epcot is here at the American Pavilion. So that is what we're doing right now because we can't break tradition. I will get this slushie. It's life or death right now.
Are you waiting here for a slushie?
Yes.
Our slushie is broken. Have you gone out to the fight for drunk?
Oh, I know, but they don't have Coke out there, do they? It's just strawberry, right?
Yes. No, it's just cherry and orange.
Okay. I will have to settle. Foiled! My plans have been foiled! I told you Disney's not always the most magical place we want it to be.
I thought I heard somebody say,
I swear that was
There you go.
That's funny.
Oh, yes,
Your picture of the little
I'm much taller in person, right? Cool. What's your name?
I'm Sarah.
Sarah, and where you guys from?
Colorado.
At the Rocky Hatch, we give it away. Cool.
Yeah, he calls me a nerd. I listen to Disney podcasts, but I'm not a nerd,
Listen,
right?
there's worse things for her to spend her time and money on, right?
Sure.
And now you've got like a pro guide with you, right? Taking you around.
Yeah, see?
And I'm so happy to see you at Food and Wine Festival because that's where we belong. Right?
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
How long are you guys here for?
Until October 4th.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Where are you
Yeah.
staying?
Boardwalk.
Wow, very nice. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you've converted him big time.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
You're all in.
Yes, I've got my whole, all my teenagers, everybody.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Anyways, nice
It was
to
really nice
meet
to meet you guys too.
I can't wait to tell my brother I met you. He listens to you
You want your
too.
picture?
Oh, that would be awesome. Can I? Okay.
Stop whispering.
Okay.
Thank you so
that's
much.
Awesome.
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
You know, I've had it up to here with Lou.
Oh my God, you're such a butthead.
Yeah, but it's like.
No.
She had a Mickey Mouse tattoo right on the
Yeah?
top of her foot. Yeah.
I heard that hurts.
This is a selfie of what are you doing? With your lips or regular?
Big Fan Pandas live!
Come on, right now, I'm gonna tell him right now. Get ready, you get ready. Are you in the periscope at the same time?
Actually, that would be an
He
interesting.
doesn't answer though, what does that mean?
Magic is about to happen.
This is Lou Mangello getting ready to periscope.
Oh, you're periscoping?
I'm periscoping. This is Corinne getting ready.
It's a triple periscope.
It's a triple threat. We're gonna cross the streets.
I'm gonna try to find love me more.
No, we don't want to love you more. Guys, I gotta be in
It's
competition
all about
with
the
these,
title.
with
It's
these,
all about
with
the
these
title.
fools. So please share this out. There it is. You get too much. I love
I
you.
have one.
Oh, now it's on. He didn't give me my hug correctly.
Okay.
Oh, would you please share this broadcast?
In the competition.
Yeah, share this broadcast. I will give you so much fun if you follow me.
Give me more hearts.
I'm gonna be the mediator, the moderator.
Jail is on my
I
periscope.
get to
John, why don't
determine
you
who
have a
wins.
handle like Lou's? Why don't you have a handle
Because
like
it's
Lou's?
illegal. He shouldn't even be a part of that.
No
It's a selfie stick.
He's not a selfie stick.
I'm gonna call him. Disney people,
This is a
he's
selfie
got a
handle.
selfie stick.
It's written and you're allowed to have it more.
Please share out this broadcast. I got 60. What do you got? I got 60 here.
Nothing.
Guys, thank you for playing along. This is
Two,
pretty
you
fun.
got three?
Who, what do
Come
you
on,
got?
people, come on.
He has nobody. Lou's got nobody. That's awesome. 60.
47. Oh, he's climbing.
No!
He's got 60.
Oh, he's got 65 now. Guys,
Oh, he passed you.
Oh! Oh! Hold on. I'll show you my face. Does this do any better? Nothing?
What do you have? What do you have?
60! You just gotta share it out. I have to beat Lou.
No, he's killing you. He's
Ah.
at 130.
I can't do it.
I have 12.
It is. Give me your phone. Give me his phone. No. Come follow mine. Please go
No,
follow
okay, you cannot. You can't,
Can we
Panda.
plug your own?
I denied Lou Scope to stay with you. Look, look, look. I denied Lou Scope to stay. It's your mom.
My mom.
Woo! Thank you. Love you.
Somebody's like, of course he's winning.
Oh my God, look, he's got 185 people. That's crazy.
It's not about the numbers, man.
Should we just give
Yeah,
up?
as he approaches 200.
It is not about the numbers.
Oh, thank you.
They said I know. You know what? The truth is, I love Lou too.
I love you, man. You know
Thank
that.
you for denying him, but I love him.
Thank you for wait, what?
They denied you, but they love
That's
you.
all right.
Oh, 73, 74. Come on. Let me beat Lou. Oh no, he's up to 216.
He's a good win.
I'm not
I'm
giving
not
up.
look at the numbers.
I'm not
The
giving up.
numbers don't matter.
Oh,
The numbers
not
camera
giving up.
quality is better than Lou's.
Thank you, thank you. Disney Periscope.
At least I win
Is
over
sending us
that.
people. Oh, hold on,
Oh my
hold
God,
on.
he's so loud. He's
Over
so
100.
loud. Remember when when I said it wasn't about the competition? Kids haven't talked about the competition. I am here because I love you.
Oh, you are
They're a bunch of
Climbing.
from Australia.
I think it was Disney Periscope.
Love them. Hello
We're
from
in
the
the studio with
ATL.
Lou Mangello.
What is going on?
We're actually,
Oh my
filming
God.
We've got
the
people
Disney
from
Dream Farmers
Australia,
documentary.
I feel from Atlanta.
Candace
Boom.
from
The
Disney.
Catching
ATL.
up.
I had no person.
And Jenny Lynn from the Diz. And Lou Mangello
Oh
from
my God.
the
This is like so meta.
Radio.
All right,
So
wait,
meta
wait,
looking
wait.
at that guy
But
right
yes,
there.
that's completion.
36 now.
It doesn't matter.
Ah!
Nothing beats a handshake and a hug. I'm with the only thing that beats a handshake and a hug
Jenny Lynn is
a
now
cronut
going to do an
and
exotic
Nutella
dance for us. And it's only exclusive on
food in
our
Brazil
Panda Periscope.
and cheese bread.
Oh, we got more
and-
people! We
I'm just
did.
ignoring them.
Oh, we got more
I'm
people!
going to take care of your
We got
numbers.
Just
117.
ignoring what's doing here.
Lou.
Keep the hearts coming.
I'm getting exotic dancing from JL, so I think
Oh,
you're gonna
my
start to
Lord.
lose.
You know-
Hold on. Can I tell your
Wait
followers
a minute.
something?
Can I say something? The Exotic Dancing from Jail was so 24-hour show like 8 years ago when she was doing push-ups at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, wait. They don't know. I'm gonna do exotic dancing now. Oh, you're
God,
losing
please
followers.
don't. Yeah,
You're
please.
losing.
I like to keep this G-rated. I'm just saying. That is
Hello,
Big Fat
Australia.
Panda. Oh, Lord. This is a bad idea. I could be home in my Spider-Man underoos right now.
I
And
know
the reason
people
why I'm here
argue
is for
this is
you,
what they do.
not for those guys.
This is what these crazy
Right?
people do.
It's a challenge. It's not a challenge.
Do you watch the Diz?
Yeah, I watched this, so it's been
Thanks, what's your name?
deal.
Neil, it's really nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
My brother. This is your brother here?
Oh,
my brother's back in service. Oh, okay. Excellent, yeah. So,
awesome.
yeah.
Are we friends on Facebook?
You know, I don't even have Facebook. I have Instagram. I'm like social
Okay.
media, like.
Okay, okay.
Um,
I was gonna say, should we get a picture, but I can't post it on, I guess we could post it on Instagram?
that's first of all.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if that one came. Nope, we're blurry again.
Or what?
It's just not
It's very-
going well.
I think it's because it's at night. Right, focus, right?
We're gonna do it old school, just hit the buttons.
I just want to thank everybody for being part of this and for coming here this week and enduring the heat and the rain and all that stuff. You guys have been amazing, and without everyone's help, this whole project would not be possible. And this guy here has been my main man. He has really been, you have been the anchor, honestly.
I love it. I'm having a good time.
But you have been the anchor behind making this really become a reality. But being in the parks this week with all you guys has been a thrill for me, and I'm just really happy to have all you guys part of this. So, cheers. Salud.
All right, I've got to introduce you to Linda Raymond. And Frank Raymond. Before I had a follower or a fan at all, Linda really supported me. She came to a bowling function and she supported me, and it really did make me feel special. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. You are special.
Thank you. Well, you made me feel special, so that was nice. Thank you.
Now you're more special.
No, same person.
That's true. He is the same person. Very down to earth.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
But it's great. You know, John said many times, you know, my friend Linda is probably going to come down, and I went, Linda Raymond? And he's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I see her on Facebook all the time. She's on my page. I think I'm friends with her.
Yeah, I friended you when you started the thing here. I gave you
Right.
information, and that's when I friended you.
Right, and that was when it kind of all began with understanding what the whole Disney community is like. You know, for me, that's been the most amazing revelation. Is that the Disney community is it's a real thing. It really is. I mean, people are. I mean, there's like this kind of sub-world. I almost like compare it to when I was in the military. You know, there's like this kind of separate kind of culture. You know, the military families and everything.
We're military family. I
Yeah.
understand.
So it's kind of like that in a way, you know? And I think, you know, when you think about how his idea was to create a place of community, well, that's what it was all about for him.
Walt Disney wanted to build an amusement park, and like everything else that Walt touched, he wanted to plus it. He wanted to make it better. He did this with animation, he did this with live action films, he did this with film sound, he did this with nature films, he did it with the amusement park. The people that he had working for him were filmmakers and storytellers. And so the little amusement park that Walt might have envisioned at some point became entirely themed, having this unity of place, of purpose, of story.
There is something transformative that happens, I think especially in places like the Magic Kingdom, when you see the train station, when you hear the welcome song, when you walk through that first portal, you leave everything else behind. It does sort of wipe away all the cares. You don't think about work, you don't think about the snow back home, you don't think about your bad boss, whatever it might be. Everybody becomes a kid again. All your sort of inhibitions are sort of wiped away, and you allow yourself just to enjoy this place for what it is.
The Disney magic, as people tend to call it, is definitely something that is tangible when you step into Disney's theme parks. To try to define Disney magic is difficult. It's definitely it's a feeling, it's a sense. It's I mean, technically, it's a carefully crafted series of experiences and sensory elements. You know, it's sound, it's touch, it's sight, it's all of these things that combine together as you walk through a place that separates you from reality. I mean, that's what the Disney theme parks are all about, is to take you outside of the real world and put you into this fantasy environment where you can be a bit carefree. You know, you don't have to worry about those worries of the world. Everybody that you interact with is going to be very friendly. Everyone wants to smile and chat and have a good time. And I think that, in a nutshell, is what Disney magic is all about.
The memories of your childhood and the memories of your family, and the incredible energy and the looks on the guests' faces, especially the guests who have never seen it before. They feel like they've gone to the moon. I mean, they have never experienced anything like this before. And this is what Disney does so well. You know, they are able to emotionally connect with you.
Everybody has some type of an emotional connection to Disney, whether it's remembering watching movies as a kid or memories of coming to Magic Kingdom and sitting on Main Street with your dad when you're 5 years old. I think that's what it is, and I think that's that intangible thing. It's how Disney makes you feel.
think that the magic is inside us. And I think that if you have this emotional connection to Disney, like I happen to get as a child, and hopefully a lot of others get it, child, adult, Disney brings it out and you feel that magic. But I think it's something inside us that touches us deep. It might even, I might even be as crazy as to say it's in my soul.
When I think about what Disney magic is, I think of the spirit that comes alive when you go into the Disney parks and you watch a movie. There's something you can't define, that you can't put your finger on, that a lot of creative people have managed to pull together over the years, but it's been different groups of people. But they all still nail this one sort of incomprehensible feeling that you get.
What Disney has done, what third-party content providers have done, and what social media is allowing people to do is get that sense of belonging and coming together. And the one thing about this place is everybody's welcome, right? Everybody's welcome, everybody's accepted here, and it gives you a great sense of belonging and community.
Disney, when it's done right, everything fits together. There is a serenity to it. There's a uniformity to it. I think that this is something that John Hench and Marty Sklar and Tony Baxter and the people worked very, very hard to create. And when Disney gets it right, nobody does it better.
For me, the Disney magic is what we, like what's in your heart, what we like. That's the magic. That's that desire to just see things in a positive light.
The magic is something that you feel, it's an energy, and it's an energy I think that everyone contributes to.
The happiness is contagious. It is a contagious happiness. Everyone is just so excited.
There's no doubt that Walt Disney was a visionary, and nobody could figure out what he was going to do next. Even those announcements that he made to the world was only a small hint at the plans that he had. And there was no way anybody could have followed in his footsteps exactly.
Walt was a spectacular human being. He was wonderful. He was concerned about people. He was very patriotic. And I think he embodied the spirit of America.
He was looking for things that were clean, that were supportive, sustainable. The vision of Disney World as a community was, an important part of what Walt's vision of what this should be. The idea of a continuing community that lasts for more than just a few years, the way a lot of short-sighted developments go. That this place is 40 years old and it still looks brand new.
You have to experience it for yourself to completely understand, but when you walk inside the gates of the Magic Kingdom or Epcot or Animal Kingdom, there is something very real that takes place within you that couldn't possibly be manufactured. You're able to put aside the things that have burdened you in your life and just for a little bit be the person that you want to be.
So what did you think? Would you do what these people have done? How many think you may? Raise your hand.
Seems expensive.
It.
That's all I can think about is how much money they're spending while they're there.
I think most of these people are, you know, they have these podcasts and a lot of them now, like WDW Radio, Lou Mangello, who was speaking up there, they have a lot of sponsorship for their shows now. And so that the cost of attending the parks is probably written into some of that, you know. But yeah, it definitely is. I mean, it's living their kind of their dream as far as being able to go to the parks whenever they want. If you look up some of those people and you follow them on Facebook or social media or anything, you'll see the type of presence they have, where they're doing weekly posts or daily posts, they're doing weekly podcasts. For instance, I know Disney Cruises 2 or 3 weeks ago had, I don't know if it was a publicity cruise, but Lou Mangello and the John Sakari were both on that and posting the whole time, posting videos about kind of their reviews and everything. And as you know, someone said in the video, they're seen as influencers. And so Disney is more than happy to have them do that to influence people's decisions, talk about, you know, what they like about the parks, the things that they like to do. So how many people would, when deciding where to move for a future job opportunity or family opportunity, how many people something like Disney World would play into your decision? Maybe. So I mean, I think there are a lot of people that do that as well. And you know, if you've been to Disneyland or you've been to Disney World, you've probably seen on the back of people's cars, you know, if they're a season ticket holder, they'll proudly display their little car decal to let people know that. And there are various ways for people to be able to let others know that they're part of the in-group, okay? And that's what a lot of this is about. The reason I talk about Disney in class is from a marketing perspective. The branding that they have undertaken and the brand that they have built is so important to people that some people will actually move so they can go and they can try to make a living doing something with the parks. Other people have you know, loyalty cards or credit cards. People have they buy annual passes every year. People belong to the D23 club. People are shareholders of Disney, so they could say they own part of the company. All of this is built into or influenced by the brand that the company has built. And being able to say, from a consumer's perspective, consumers being able to say, we are part of something, we're part of something as prestigious as this brand or another brand, is very, very important to consumers. And so that's why I talk about them a lot in marketing. And the more and more I talk about them, the more and more I find people that are interested in at least certain aspects of the company. Maybe you like the parks, maybe you like the movies and the cartoons, maybe you like the feature cartoons, maybe you like the movies that are produced like the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe. Maybe you like the merchandise or some of the business aspects of what the company does. And so, you know, the thing that I take away from that video is, and after watching it several times, is these people at least appear to have found something that they really enjoy doing. And they've built jobs, bless you, or careers around trying to do something with that. And so I think because this is an honors class, and one aspect of the honors classes is supposed to be to kind of help move you through or help you along your educational path. One thing I take from this video is find something you like, find something you love, and try to incorporate that into your daily life or what you're doing as much as possible. Now, I'm not saying you have to drop everything and move to Orlando or move to Anaheim and go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland every day, you know? But you find something you like, that you enjoy, you make that part of your routine, or you try to put that into things that you do on a regular basis, you're going to do a better job at those things, okay? You're going to show ownership over those things. And you're going to find you're going to have more fun with them, okay? Along the way, you're going to have a lot more fun with what you're doing. So that's what I take away from that video, and that's why I like, one of the reasons I like watching that video. As far as what's coming up, remember Tuesday we're going to talk to Ron Schneider. We're going to be meeting over in the conference room. So come ready to hear his stories of what he's done, his research on the history of Disney, and come with questions, okay? The questions that you have for me, that maybe you've asked and I haven't been able to answer, maybe ask that to Ron, because he's done a lot of research into the history of the company and of Walt Disney himself. Okay. As far as the assignments, I will be getting together the first assignment and sending it out later this week. Okay, that will be the assignment on what Disney means to you. So I'll send it out later this week. We'll actually talk about it in 2 weeks after, because next week will be, we'll talk to Ron Schneider the whole time, okay? One thing that I wanted to do before we leave, and I will create a list of these movies, because as I said, if you're a member of D23, then this is some of the online content you get with the complimentary service or complimentary membership. So you can go on Disney.com and you can register for this, for the complimentary membership. You can have access to things like this. However, I'm going to make a list of this because I want you to, for the last 6 or 7 minutes, take out a sheet of paper. We're going to go through this list somewhat quickly, and then I'm going to make a list of this and I'll share it with everyone. I want you to jot down the movies that you have seen. Okay? So, and you'll see what's interesting, starting in 1937 was the first feature-length movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And then you look, there's a 3-year gap between Snow White and Pinocchio and Fantasia. What you'll see when we go through this list is the time it takes to animate movies decreases, then we see a lot more movies being released in a year. So just go through, jot down the ones that you have seen. And some of these are known as shorts.
Can you put it up real quick? I'm sorry.
So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Fantasia, The Reluctant Dragon, Dumbo, Bambi, Saludos Amigos, Victory Through Air Power, which was one that the Walt Disney Company created for the World War effort through the United States government. The Three Caballeros, Make Mine Music, Song of the South, Fun and Fancy Free, Melody Time, So Dear to My Heart, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Cinderella came out in 1950. Treasure Island, Alice in Wonderland, The Story of Robin Hood and His Merry Men, Peter Pan, The Sword and the Rose, The Living Desert, Rob Roy, The Highland Road, The Vanishing Prairie. You can see we're getting more and more because these are live action. And it took less time to create live action movies than it did the animated features. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier, Lady and the Tramp, The African Lion, The Littlest Outlaw, The Great Locomotive Chase. Notice what else happened in 1955 that's significant to the Disney Corporation. This is when Disneyland was open. What is the castle at the middle of Disneyland? Sleeping Beauty's castle, right. Sleeping Beauty actually is not released until 1959. They were going through planning Sleeping Beauty when they built Disneyland. So, Secrets of Life, Westward Ho, The Wagons, Johnny Tremaine, Paris, Old Yeller, The Light in the Forest, White Wilderness, Tonka, Sleeping Beauty in 59, The Shaggy Dog, Darby O'Gill and the Little People, Third Man on the Mountain, which Third Man on the Mountain is what the the Matterhorn bobsled rides are themed after at Disneyland. Toby Tyler, or 10 Weeks with a Circus, Kidnapped, Pollyanna, The Sign of Zorro, Jungle Cat, 10 Who Dared, Swiss Family Robinson, if you've been in the Swiss Family Robinson tree at the Magic Kingdom and Disney World, 101 Dalmatians, the cartoon, the animated feature, The Absent-Minded Professor, The Parent Trap, the first version, or the original, Nicky, Wild Dog of the North, Greyfair's Bobby, Babes in Toyland, Moon Pilot, Bon Voyage, Big Red, Almost Angels, The Legend of Lobo, In Search of the Castaways, Son of Flubber, Miracle of the White Stallions, Savage Sam, Summer Magic, The Incredible Journey, The Sword and the Stone, which is themed in Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom as well, The Three Lives of Thomasina, The Misadventures of Merlin Jones, A Tiger